let's see if this works. Today we're making whale tails. I have the stencil set from Flatware, and what I'm doing today is making an order of whale tails, and these are all going to be bangles, so they're going to go around your wrist. I'm using some different size spoons. I'm using serving spoons and tablespoons for this. The way these stencils work, I don't have a link for the stencils themselves, but the link for flatwearables.net is down below in the description. So what they've done is they've made it really easy to use these. You just line up your handle with that and you slide it down until everything is right where you want it. So what I did was I matched it up with my points ending at sorry, you guys can barely hear me. Give me my cord. Okay. And then I just used a Sharpie. This is a fine tip Sharpie here. Whenever you put it on, it doesn't wipe off very easy, which is why I really like them. So I've gone through and I've already cut out a couple of them. These will just need finished up and cleaned up. Let me say hi on the chat. Bink. Okay. So if you want to comment, just leave a comment, and every time I look up, I'll try and see if I can get to your comment and answer your question. These came with 2 different stencils, so all kinds of creative patterns, and they go large and small, so you can fit them on lots and lots of different spoons. And even these serving spoons, they're not quite big enough. The stencil's not quite big enough. So you can see on this one, I've taken and I've got to cut off a little bit of the outside edge. Why isn't that clear? Because the autofocus is off. There we go. So you see this corner here? I've got to go up a little bit. It just wasn't quite wide enough, the pattern. So it'll look like this, where you see the edges aren't quite right, and we'll round those out later. So this will become a bangle. We're going to bend it to where this will wrap all the way around, and that is the goal. So let me just put this where I can get to it. I'm going to bring you guys, well, you should be fine there. I'm using a 3/0 blade with beeswax as my lubricant, and I might switch to a 2/0 blade just because I'm going so fast. For me, it is 12:30. I want to have all these done in the next hour so that I can get them in the tumbler, and they'll be ready to go out in tomorrow's mail, because I have another order and it's big. So that's going to take me probably at least 2 days. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of hours on that one. And then I go to see my wife Wednesday or Thursday. We're hoping Thursday, so I can get all of this stuff done. But let's get into this. So this is a serving spoon, and I'm gonna bring you guys right down here. Let's see if I can get this right for you. change my white balance here, or exposure. Let's see. That's not working. Oh, here we go. Nope. This is one thing I didn't check. There we go, white balance. Nope, that's not going to help either. Nope, and that's not helping. Okay, so let's see how far we can zoom in and see if that will take any light off of this. So it's this guy. Nope, it's the top light. There we go. We'll do that. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be going quickly so I can get these all done. And in the tumbler, let's bring this around. So you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. I always like to start my cuts up against one of the edges, so I can have my blade basically stopped by the edge, and that gives me a nice spot to cut into. Once I get my cut started, then I'll pull it away and go through. How loud is that? Okay. And I'm letting the saw do all the work. I'm barely pushing. And I'll probably get yelled at for turning my saw blade not to piece when I go around the corner. But I'm gonna just keep going here. If you guys have any questions, I'll keep looking up to see if you left a comment. Once the sound starts to change, then I know that I need to wax it back up. The part that changes about all of these is some are thicker than others, and sometimes the base metal is different. Well, a lot of times the base metal is different. So as you are cutting through these, sometimes they're really easy. Like this one's fairly easy. And I use the marking as a guide. I'm not trying to be perfect with it. So a lot of times I'll go up a little higher, or I'll make a turn a little softer. And my block is just a block I made out of a piece of 1x material, and you'll see it's also sideways to me. It's not straight out like off a bench. I haven't done that yet. I like this so that because I can just keep it in my vise, take it in and out, and be able to adjust it. So if I need to lock it down in another position, I have that freedom to move this around. So I like it right about here. Keeps me away from the table with my hand. And I'm just pushing down here just to keep it down on the piece. I've already flattened these out. You can make these without flattening out the spoon, but for the bangles, I always flatten those out. Okay, that song is just way too slow. There we go, that's better. I need some go juice music. Let's go. So this is my rough cutting. So this is what we'll do after I get this cut out. Ah, broke a blade. Like I said, I'm going quick. Probably too quick. So I'm going to switch over to a 2/0 blade instead of the 3. This is a little thicker. Wax her up here. Oh, the autofocus is on. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it's definitely thicker. There we go. So what we're left with is the whale tail. We're going to round these sides off. We're going to clean all this up later. But for now, I've got 3, 6, 7 of these to cut out. I try and get my spoon flat against here. If it's pitched up, you're going to get a weird angle, and sometimes you'll break blades just doing that. So once I get in, then I can just start let the blade cutting. You don't need to push, really, just enough to let the teeth hold. And I'm not really pushing forward whenever I'm coming up either. I'm not pulling it back, but I'm not continuing to push forward. Yeah, this is going faster, and this is a thicker spoon and it's still cutting through. I just felt it in my pinky. Everything went kind of slick, like I didn't feel any cutting. So right now, okay, I still feel my teeth. Ooh. You just don't want to push hard, just let those teeth do the work. When I'm starting to turn, I'll kind of pull back on it, back on the blade, so that the teeth are doing the cutting as they go around. And I'm not pushing, so I don't have to make a big see this binding here? That's coming from the angle of the spoon changing, the angle of the blade, because the spoon is set in a different spot. It must have been pitched up here or down here. So you got to be careful whenever that happens too, because you'll break blades whenever that binding starts. So this one came out perfect. This is a tablespoon. I forgot if I mentioned the flatwearables.net. In the description, that will take you to their homepage, I believe, with the 3D press system. And but you'll find all the stuff that they make and sell. She has a ton of stuff on there. I was excited about this stencil kit because I made my own stencils, but this has all of them, plus with the handle cutouts to help line up everything. It makes it so much easier. I had little ones on mine that I made. I used an old folder kind of binder thingy, and I cut the plastic out and I made my own stencils with that. These are all laser cut and really nice. So many more sizes than I have. So I'd spend time drawing them out for the different sizes. And there we go. Poof! Whale tail. Alright, next. I like this design for the bangles because it's not as harsh as some of them. There's not really a whole lot of points to go off of. Like some of the mermaid tails have a whole fancy tail and they're really pretty, but having to put that over your wrist would just hurt. And some of them are super long, so they're going to get bent fairly easily, and we don't want that. So I was going to start these last night, but after my failure with the birdhouses, I was kind of tired. So I'm like, I'll get these done today. And if you wax up before your turns, that'll help your turns also. Just gotta watch out for that binding. There we go. Nice and clean. So if you haven't been here before, please subscribe. I do lots of videos, requests and everything. Continuing to grow the channel, and hopefully soon I'll be able to do some more projects. But for now, my wife's pretty sick, so I think for the next few weeks I'll be down in New York City with her while she goes through her treatment. So I won't be able to do anything in my shop for probably a couple of weeks, but I am taking my laptop, so I'll try and do some editing and get a couple of the old videos that I haven't gotten to. Get those edited. Okay. Do you see how that just bound up on me? Where I'm getting close to the end and it wanted to push this piece away. So I'm going to go towards the back of my block here. That's going to give me a lot more solid platform. And I'm just going nice and easy as it moves. And there we go. Poof. All right. So this one, I did 2 lines on. This one, the first one, obviously, I wanted it to be bigger, so I went with the second one. So we're going to do this again. This was more of a rounded tablespoon. Not quite a soup spoon, but just a rounded tablespoon. This one's nice and thin. feels like it has a soft base metal. You got to be careful with these, because if you don't watch, you'll cut right past the point that you want to, just because the blade's cutting through so easy. Yeah, Jeff, they did need done last night. I just didn't have it in me. It was Bloody Mary time. So I have this one and 4 more to do, and then I'll do the cleanup and get them in the tumbler today. So they'll go out in the mail tomorrow. She wasn't expecting them that fast anyways, but with my wife being sick and me having to leave Wednesday, possibly Thursday, I need to get all of this stuff done as fast as possible. And I just got an order today. I don't even know how many bracelets are in this bag, but I need to get them drilled, cleaned up, and bent, and then I'll toss them in the tumbler, get them nice and shiny, and get them sent back to her. The nice part is they're already cut to the length that she wants them, and they're already matched up, and then they have masking tape holding them together, so I can get them all done. It take me a little bit more time because I'm not doing them all at the same time. Like I used to do 50 or 60 bracelets at a shot, and I basically moved the pile from one side of my vise to the other side of my vise and just keep doing each step on each one of them. So it was very tedious. So I'll move towards the back. I'm using a 2/0 blade right now. The 3/0 wasn't quite enough to make it, there you go. The 3/0 wasn't quite enough strength for as fast as I wanted to go. So I just use the edge of this to hold my blade against, and it cuts right in where I want it to. So there's this little wax. The bracelets, this is a gallon-sized bag. Lots and lots of bracelets to do. It's probably going to take me probably 2 full days, and I think that's really all I have. So I will be in the shop for those. I won't be live for that though. Just got to get them done. So what I might actually do is, while I'm down in New York City with my wife, I might do a live, and I'll post a couple days before, and maybe do a live where people can give me questions and ask questions about different topics and how I got started, and some things I've learned from doing shows, the show circuit, how to find the shows. I think that would be fun. So I can just feel it whenever it starts to slide through and not grab. And even though I use the stencil pattern, every one of these is in a slightly different spot. As your blade cuts, that changes the area. You see the binding there? You want to be careful whenever you're doing that. Get your piece situated. I think I was trying to move it back to this corner while I was still cutting. So this is kind of a fat whale tail compared to this guy. Even though it's the same pattern, same stencil, it's just further down on the spoon. Alright, 3 more to go. Nope, right there. This is a nice thin one. I gotta be careful to follow my line. Because it will just blaze through this. Sometimes, well, most of the time, the sterling cuts really fast. Okay, so I'm going to make my turn. Come on. There we go. Back on track. So I switched to the 2/0 blade, and because I'm not making tight turns, it makes this really nice. I can give it a little bit of pressure to cut a little faster. So that binding is happening because we're on the edge of the bowl because it's not super flat. So I'm just going to go slow here. I lost track of my line. Back to the corner. Two more. Big tablespoon. So you can see here the pattern didn't quite fit. So I have edges to cut off here and over here. And we're going to round those out later. Still go into the point and make our turn. Broke that blade. I'm going to move my bar so I can use the rest of this. So I get to use the rest of this shorter blade now. So just keep going. I'm sure that was from me trying to turn too fast and put pressure on it. the blade broke right up here up top, so I still had plenty of blade left to be able to use the rest of it instead of just throwing the whole thing away. That's the one thing I do like about this adjustable jeweler saw. Okay, so we just keep going. This is, I have one left. And then we'll clean up all these edges and get them bent. I'm going to take some of the varnish off of them with my buffer. Try not to smash my finger with the locking screw here. Definitely watch your fingers whenever they're in front of the blade, because this thing will splice you super quick. Getting down to our point. Okay, so I'm going to lubricate my blade, and I'm going to try and get this to turn. I'm pulling backwards, and even whenever I cut down, I'm still pulling backwards until I get the direction that I want to go, and then I'll start pushing forward. There we go. Get it to the back. So we've got our corners here. We'll round those out. All right, last one. See if we can finish it off with this blade. And it looks like it's going to be a nice easy one to cut. And blade breaks. So again, using a 2/0 blade. Just want one. And My blade's upside down. I thought it felt weird. That's better. I don't think I've made this many mermaid tail bangles. Maybe ever. Well, I think I've probably made 10 or 11. So this is an order for 10. And I think I'm cutting out 11. Just in case one of them breaks. I have one pattern that I think might break on me. So I just want to have a backup. And if everything works out, I'll take one and probably put it up on our Etsy shop and on our website, flatwarecreations.com. So I found something interesting the other day on YouTube. They have a super chat thing where you can chat in real time, kind of like this. And that allows people to give them different stickers or donations, $1 or something, and they just added I think it's a super thanks, I think, for even the live streams like this now. So I thought that was pretty cool. Not quite sure how it works yet. But I think there's a little thing you can click on at the bottom of the video. So our next step, we're going to clean up these edges, and we're going to take these tips. We're going to take off our points because these are really sharp, and that is not going to work. So I need to find a pair of glasses that I can see out of. All right, I think this is the lesser of two evils. All right, and this is too small. I'm going to use a 120 grit sanding drum on my nail drill here, and I'm set at about 4. Just take off these points. You want these nice and round for the bangles. And this is just flattening out all of the saw marks so everything's nice and clean. And I'm just going to buzz across the edges. Top and bottom. So we want it to be nice and smooth. Corners are good. And because we're just blazing through here really quick, just want to make sure that you pick out those little saw marks. Everything needs to be nice and clean. We will get up into the centerpiece with the next section. So I got my point. This also helps to even everything out. It'll make your finished product a lot nicer. Alright, let's take off the edges. And this will probably doesn't need to be done because the tumbler should do that. But I just want to make sure if you have a grinder on your bench grinder, it makes this really simple. You just take a couple of seconds to get this clean, the corners anyways. And we'll get off this edge. Okay. So this is one where we have to round out the edges. So I'm holding my Dremel kind of at a side to blend it down into this. And you can see how it rounds it out. Takes off that sharp corner and it blends it in at the same time. This. Getting those saw marks out really makes a difference in these. Well, it makes a difference in all of the jewelry you make. We want it all to look handmade, but we don't want it to be too rough. So this one is pretty high on that edge. So what I'm going to do is take it to my sander, my belt sander, and just round those out. Nice and clean. So to the belt sander. Nice and round. Go through and clean that up with the Dremel. I think the grit on my my belt sander is 80 grit. All nice and clean. It's a lot easier for me to do a whole bunch at the same time That way I don't miss any steps. Everything comes out nice and even. So this one has quite a bit of tarnish on it. We're just going to run it through the buffer real quick. Let's see, I have 5 more left to do. This one's got to go to the belt sander. So my disc sander's almost dead. So I'm trying to use up all the bits so you can kind of see where it's worn out. A little whiter spot. So the stainless knife blades, I've seen people using to make dragonflies. This is one of the things that I've still kept a bunch of my blades for. I've seen them take and put slits in the hollow handled knives. They'll take their Dremel tool and cut slits, and then they'll take the blades, not one of these, but one of the flat blades, and they'll take 2 of them and they'll put them in like this on both sides and then solder them in there. Normally they'll use this end as the head, so you'll have the wings coming out like this, and you can go through both sides with your saw, and then just solder them in place. And I've seen a lot of them just pinch down the back end so it's sealed up. I've also seen people using them as pieces for wind chimes. So I have tons of blades down here. So this is the blade I was talking about. These are the flat blades. So these come out of the ones that are pinched, and these come out of the ones that are rounded. And then the solder that's left on them. But these are nice and flat, and these will just slide in once you get your hole made. That's my next. That's on my list. We'll just say that. I don't know about next. I have a bunch of different things that are on my list. How are we for time? Still doing okay. And I have 3 left to finish this step on. And then we're going to do the inside. And this is just to take off any flashing. So take off the flashing and take out our little saw marks. And because this is going over somebody's wrist, you want it to be nice and rounded. You definitely don't want any sharp edges or something that could get sharp. I like to do this part by hand instead of using my belt sander to do this, because the belt sander will take off a lot of material really quickly, and I'm just trying to take out these little lines. I have tried to go around and just take the points off, and sometimes I've taken them off too far. So I'm taking off the edges there again. So no lip. Alright, we got one more after this one. I want to see if I can stretch this drum just enough to get this finished. And you can take and just flip these over if it makes it easier for you to get to the new material. Get this all cleaned up. So this is another one that's got to go to belt sander. That 1-inch belt sander really makes quick work of most of these things. It's definitely been a very useful tool to have, and it was one of the last tools I got. Round it off just a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to take and get our centers. So when I'm saying center, I mean this piece right here. I'm going to find a diamond burr that fits right up there, and I'm going to use this to basically make my saw mark rounded. So all these are going to look more rounded. I'm going to turn this up to a 5, and basically I'm just going to go in until I don't see any more of the black showing, and the black is just the gap. Kind of blending it in so we have a nice clean tail. And after this step, we can move on to the bending. Actually, I'm going to buff these out real quick, get some of the tarnish off. If you put tarnished silverware in well, heavily tarnished silverware in the tumbler, you're going to get bright tarnished pieces because the tumbler can only do so much. So blend that in there. So this one's a real sharp point. Crank it up a little bit. So I'm trying to round it as I go. So it's not just a hole through there. Nice and clean. And I'm using my block here as stability because, I mean, I shake a lot. So I don't want to have my bit jump off and scratch something. Alright. 2 more to go after this one. Got a rough flashing on the back. There we go, it's gone. Take off any flashing. Alright, last one. Okay, so do I have you zoomed in? Yeah. Let's bump this up here. Okay, so I'm going to be using this fiber wheel. It goes right on my spindle here. Let's see if I can get over there a little bit. When you're running your buffer, you do want to wear a mask. So I'm not going to be able to talk for a minute. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this on. it just slides up on its own. Now I'm going to take my piece of, and I'm going to take off all these edges. So this is going to help round out and soften all of these edges. And then I'm going to come over to this side. I'm going to come over to this side and use my red rouge to take off any of the tarnish. So those are the two that I'm going to use, and then we're going to bend these and get them tossed in the tumbler. So I'll bring you guys over here, putting on my mask.
Look, I am your father.
Okay, get over here. Too much stuff underneath my table. All right, here we go. If you use this on a piece of silver plate, well, any piece really, it will take everything right off. So watch this. See, it looks like it took off the tarnish, but it actually took off the silver plate. And it only takes a second. So be careful whenever you're touching the face to this. You just want the edges. All right, here we go. So you don't have to, but you can wipe these off. Let's see, back here. So you don't have to make them super shiny. I was just getting off the majority of the tarnish. So when it goes in the tumbler, it has less work to do. So this is the one that I'm worried about breaking. I'm worried about this spot right here. As we bend this, I know it's going to kind of be sketchy right at that spot. And I'm just trying to take off just a little layer of this so I can just make sure that everything's okay. Another thing you can look for too whenever you're at this stage is sometimes you'll see a little black spot catching up on something. If you have a little lip still, the polishing compound will stick to it or get caught in it. All right, so I need 10 of these. Let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so we got one extra. Let's come over here to our press. Okay. Get rid of those. I'm bringing my main block. I want my large pin. And so it's been a while since I've done a bangle. I don't know if these angles are going to be right. So let's start off with an easy one. Because we want our pattern to be on top, we want our whale tail to start down. So I'm going to go all the way across. Why is this? Something just feels weird here. Okay, so make sure you run this all the way back. Then we're going to put our end all the way back. So that's kind of our first bend, but I want a little bit more bend on this. So I'm going to bring this down. All right, so there we have a circle now. I'm going to pull this apart. I'm just going to test it on my wrist. So I have a fairly large wrist. So I want a little bit more curve here. Sorry, a little bit more curve here to flatten out. Easy way to do that. So I'm going to put it in here, and I'm just going to give it a little tiny squeeze. So if you watch right here, it's just a little squeeze. There we go. So see how that gap kind of left? So we have the same kind of gap on this side. Let's get rid of that. Same thing. We're gonna get this in here even and just barely squeeze. And you can tell how far you're going by this. And that's just from the angle of my wrist. So the way these go on and off, you just pull them. I like to have a decent shape in here. I've got a little spot right here. You can see it's kind of flat. Again, I'm going to go into here. I want the middle of that little round, little flat spot. There we go. And we got most of that flat out of there. Double check and make sure that it fits. And the way these work is you could put them on your wrist and then you just squeeze them together, and that's how they stay on. So we're going to leave that one like that. This block is the is the second largest, or the second smallest, and then I've taken a 1 inch schedule 40 PVC coupling, and I ground out the inside so it will go over this, because the angle for my bracelets, I was using a little bit more, it wasn't quite as much as the ones that came with the kit. Once I get that bend started, then I can just push this. You could probably get away with doing this as well, instead of going to the ring. All right, so we're going to pull this apart. There we go. So we don't have that bend, and this is all nice and flat. So as you're trying them on, you can feel the sharpness as it goes on your wrist. So double checking that they're the right size, or not as sharp. There we go. So a nice clean shape. The distance between these, let's turn this to inches. 0. So I think what you want is 1.5 inches. So there's 1.5 inches. So that's probably pretty close. There's that one. Woo. So I'm getting it bent just enough to get it started. Get that all the way across. Nice and even. And this is a big serving spoon. Maybe. And this one I actually got flat enough. Well, I still got a little bit up there. Pull it apart. And this one's long enough to be able to hit with the hammer. There we go. Fits nice. And you can probably also do that at this point before you even start the bend for your tail. There we go. A couple more left. So this one twisted on me a little bit, so I'm gonna tweak it and try and get it to come back over to where it should be. There we go. And trying everyone on helps a lot with your quality control. Every piece is different, but you want to make sure that they all have the same quality of being consistent. So this one is going to need tapped. Sorry, it's a small workspace where the camera's at. All right, we got 3 left to do, and then these guys are all ready for the tumbler. Tweaked over there. So sometimes this is going to twist on you. See how this side here is kind of pointed down? Take a pair of your flat nose pliers. Just kind of bend that up. I felt it cutting into my wrist. There, that's a lot better. Sorry. Okay, one more after this, and we'll find out if it breaks or not. And if it's not bending the way you want to, beat it to your will. Like, this one's a little small for my wrist. There we go. If we put more of a curve in this, a lot of times it will really dig down into your wrists. So I have a couple marks, but that's only because I've been putting them off and on. So this is the one that I'm worried about. I'm worried about it breaking right there. So we're gonna do the tip first, and then we'll do the handle second. If it can survive getting our turn in there. All right, here we go. And I'm also worried right here, but this is my big worry. Come on, get to the other side. My vise moved. There we go. Go nice and slow. Okay, so before it gets too far, let's get this flattened out. So we've got our round. That spot is, it is on a corner edge. So let's see where it bends. Most of the bend I felt right here, not in that corner, so that's good. There we go. poof. And that is all of them. Let's see, get you guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. And then we got all these duck feet. And I've used these in wind chimes a lot. They look like little ghost guys sometimes. Just put a hole right here and just go over them with your belt sander or your drum just to kind of soften the edges. And these make really cool wind chime parts. So nothing gets wasted. These will go in my later pile. So that was a lot better successful than yesterday, because yesterday was crazy with those birdhouses. They came out of the tumbler. I will let you know next time how those turned out, but I should have those done today also. All right, let me see if I can get a screen capture for this. See if I can take a picture. I don't know how to do that, so we'll figure it out. This is the one I was worried about. It's a really pretty flower pattern. All right, so I got to get all these in the tumbler and get going. We are at 1 hour and 32 minutes because real life takes real time, but we made 11 of these in that time. That's pretty good. I am happy with that. I got a lot of stuff to do really quick. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. You'll see all of our new videos. I'm gonna try and be able to put out videos whenever I'm away with my wife, because I won't be able to be in the shop. So I'll have more time to work on the videos. So hopefully there'll be a few of those coming out. And I'm also going to try and do a question and answer kind of thing. But I'll post in the, one of the sections. I might just make a little video short saying that I'm going to go live such and such day at whatever time. So I can get you guys some heads up warning before I just go live and then talk to myself for an hour. I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you so much for joining me and helping me along in this little journey. If there's anything you'd like to see me make, please put a comment up and I will add it to my list. And until then, I will see you guys later, and I hope you all have